experiences like this, man. It's crazy.
Welcome back, everybody. It's Backlash Radio here in a cold, dark, windy Ocean City. Just started getting cold and dark. Yeah,
God,
this
I missed it.
afternoon.
I missed that melancholy, horrible, woe is me, Ocean City attitude. Hi, nephew.
Um, Nick, how was Miami?
Miami's great. It's getting a little cooler. We got our first cold front coming through as we speak, and there's been some sailfish around and enjoying some cooler weather.
Nice. Tonight we have a guest, my Uncle Bill, world traveling angler and owner of Squidnation lure company.
Yeah.
So I'm sure most people know who he is. So if you don't, he'll probably turn up at an inlet or a fishing destination near you at some point. So Uncle Bill,
Hey,
thanks for joining us. I'm curious about. I mean, I feel like I haven't seen you very much this summer, this year. So I'm curious about your
we've been
travels.
traveling. We've been traveling a lot. We kind of took a. I did a lot of traveling during the Ocean City season, which I normally don't do. But opportunities arose in some places I've never been, some places that got hot that I've been to a lot, and we've just been moving quite a bit. I never knew that you could catch fish in Venice. That was really cool.
Venice, Italy?
But yeah, I was in Venice, Italy. I didn't see the historic part that everybody goes to, but I was in Venice, just a few miles from it. I could see it.
Really?
Yeah, we were 12 miles off of Venice in some very green, ugly water, chunking. They were actually chumming more than chunking for giant bluefin, and we did catch one. We caught one about 180 pounds. That was cool. I was with the owners of the old Aussie Rolls, and they own the Trilo Bite now. That's in the DR, doing very well. And then with a company that we're dealing with out of Italy, with dredge bars and some other stuff, components. They make some rods and stuff that we won't deal with the rods, but we'll be working with them on the dredge bars. And they're like, we want to take you fishing. And I said, sure. And it's pretty funny because we chunked for a while. We trolled for a while, trolling some new stuff, really just to see the stuff. And then we sat down to chunk, and Alice Stevenson, who is Carlos's wife or girlfriend, she ended up getting an 180 pound bluefin on it was light tackle. It might have been 40 pound. Kicked its ass. It was like 30 minutes. It was a nice fight.
Nice.
Yeah.
What kind of tackle?
It was like an AB1 rod, custom 7. It looked like a 5 foot medium action, 30 to 40 pound rod, I think. And and probably I can't remember what the reel was. It was a Shimano, Alutechnos, I think. And just chunking, straight up chunking with fluorocarbon and a piece of sardine. And we were getting ready to give up. I actually finally laid down for a nap, and I was down for a nap for about 45 seconds, and the rod went off.
Nice.
I
Good
would
way to
have.
end the day.
There's no way in hell I thought we were going to catch that fish. That fish hit the rod closest to the boat and went straight from the back of the boat to the front of the boat underneath, and we were anchored. Everything that you thought would have gone wrong didn't, and we caught that fish. That was cool.
Wow.
Was there a big fishing scene there? Like, is there other boats that fish, or is it kind of?
Yeah. They do a lot of bluefin fishing there. You're only, I forget what they told me. I think you're only like 50 miles from Croatia. Is that right? You're probably
It's
looking
not
at.
far. It's not far at all.
Yeah, and there's a bluefin fishery in Croatia, and then after that, I did a tour of the facility, and it was beautiful. It's unbelievable. And then we went to I've wanted to catch a spearfish, a Mediterranean spearfish, and if it worked out, we were going to troll for some swords too. And I ended up going to Mallorca and fishing on an operation, and I'll get the name for you. It escapes me right now. But great dude, great crew, and ended up catching a spearfish on the second day.
Nice.
Flatline bite, and it was cool. Gary Carter uses this guy. A lot of these world record holder guys use this guy, and it was fun. It was fun. It was like catching a wahoo. Very, very long run, and then he turned and came in. Caught him on 20 pound, 16 or 20 pound. And nice fish. Jump 3 or 4 times. Literally, it was like a wahoo bite. Just a blistering first run. Saw 2 others. Had a swordfish on top. Swordfish free jump there like they sun here at home. You know, every once in a while we'll see them sunning. There you see them free jumping like sailfish in Costa Rica. We probably saw 6 or 7 swordfish free jumping.
Oh wow!
Which is cool.
Is there a lot of life when you're fishing like these areas?
There was a ton of bait. There was a ton of bait. We just had some bad luck. One of those classic should have been here yesterday. They saw 6 or 7 a couple days before I got there, and I was right in the heart of the season, so it was a good time to go. And it just turned out that I didn't have the best luck. They usually during the season they see 5, 6 a day.
Swords or spears?
And I also caught swords. I mean spears. Swords. They say swords are the easiest fish to catch, and we were in Kenya a little ways after that, and they said the easiest billfish to catch in Kenya is a sword too. But I also caught a small bluefin while we were trolling for the spearfish.
I was going to ask, any other bycatch there? Any other billfish species?
So they showed me a picture of a fish that was 100% a white marlin, and they didn't know what it was. They thought it was a giant spearfish at first, and it was a white marlin. Actually, it was a round scale because they had pictures of it in 27 different angles, and we were able to look at it. It was a round scale. But that's about it. Bluefins, swordfish, and spearfish is the main thing.
I think me and Anthony talked to somebody before about, I guess the rounds, the spearfish in Sardinia, Italy.
Yeah, but those are Mediterranean spearfish.
Yeah.
That's what we were going after. The round scale is basically just a white marlin. It's genetically different, but a Mediterranean spearfish is like a wahoo with a bill about that long. I mean, it's tiny little bill. Pretty fish. But it was a lot of fun. Mallorca is a blast. I would like to go there just with a couple buddies and hang out and fish a day. I hung out fished 3 days, I think 2 or 3 days, and hung out for 2 days, and it was unbelievable.
Yeah, it looks beautiful.
Cool. Very cool place. It's not far from Ibiza, or whatever that party town is called. They do a lot of spearfishing out of there too. That whole area is spearfish central.
Nice.
How many?
Yeah.
Because I've looked at marinas, like just some satellite shots and done a little bit of research. Like how many fishing boats are there in these places, Uncle B?
There's quite a few at the marina we were at.
Yeah.
There were some smaller ones. There was probably 7 or 8, 10 bigger boats, probably in the 38 to 45 foot range.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a ton in the 22 to 35 foot range,
Oh, gotcha.
and a mazillion sailboats.
Do they when I say fishing boats that are targeting pelagics, troll, like in
They're targeting bluefins.
I gotcha. Most of the time.
Yeah. I feel bad. I'm going to look it up here in a second. But they these guys that I fish with really were the first ones to target for charter spearfish, and they've been doing very well at it.
Interesting.
And how long's that season?
He said that they've caught spearfish in every month of the year. I was there I want to say I was there in May. I think it goes all the way through July, August, and starts a little bit earlier, April. I was going to go there on my way to Cape Verde one year, and it didn't work out. And I want to say that was May, June also. So it was cool. I really love Majorca. I want to go back there.
And they're pulling the same spread as we would here, dredges, good chains, all that stuff.
We were pulling dredges. We were having a little bit of problem with the bait, so we pulled some lures, teeny tiny lures with like flounder hooks. I mean, just the smallest little thin wire hooks you could find, and real small stuff that we would troll in the middle of a tuna spread trying to catch bait, or middle of a marlin spread when you're fishing in some of these countries where you throw a feather out to try and catch a little bonita. That's what they were using for the spearfish.
Wow.
Yeah.
But typically ballyhoo?
Ballyhoo, small ballyhoo or sardines. Kind of like what we do in Morocco. Those little sardines, they hook right through the nose.
And they just pitch them, right?
And they just pitch them. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Do the spears tease pretty well?
They did. Actually, the guy who turned me on to that place was a writer that I had met in Morocco. He was doing a story in Morocco for Marlin Magazine. His name is Dave Lewis. And he actually caught, last year, he caught a sword and a spear on a fly. And with this guy, in Majorca. So that was cool.
That's really cool.
Lot of fun. From there, I'm getting my timelines mixed up, but I went to the Canary Islands. Carrie Chen asked me to go to this tournament in the Canary Islands and help promote it. I thought I was going to be fishing it, but as it turned out, I was just riding with the guys. Man, they had a great blue marlin season there. There was probably 30 boats in the tournament, and the best day they saw 50, I think, 50 blues.
Wow.
We were 1 for 3 on that day. All 3 of them teased in very well. We were 5 miles off the beach, 6 miles off the beach, and we had shots at all 3 of them. They missed a couple of them, and then 1 fell back to the lure and got it on the lure. 2 fell back to the lure, but they popped 1 off. All 400-pound range fish. The winning boat caught 4, I think. But everybody I talked to, when I was in the Azores, I talked to Newt and I talked to a couple of the other guys. None of them wanted to leave the Canary Islands when they were there. They all wanted to stay. But they were doing the Canary, Madeira, Azores trek, and
So that's the thing now, I guess.
the fishing was amazing in the Canary Islands. A lot of bait, all bait and switch for these guys, and just a fun place to go. Another place where I could not believe how cool it is. It's one of those islands where it's like split down the middle. It's like desert on one side and lush and green on the other side.
Huh.
And we were on the leeward side, which is odd because we were on the leeward side of the wind, but it was the desert conditions. and very, very cool, very, very tourist centric place. It's one of those places where I guess we don't know that much about because everybody goes to the Azores
Yeah,
to
but it's
catch
a
blue marlin.
huge tourist in Europe. It's a huge tourist destination, right?
Huge Spanish
Yeah.
tourist, Italian tourist place. And we loved it. Carrie and I went out every night to eat. We didn't stay very much in the location that they put us in. They put us in this unbelievable resort where you could just get lost every time you try leaving it. But the Malecon, as they call it, in Cuba and those other places, the water, the walkway along the water, the restaurants were amazing. Every restaurant we went to was absolutely fabulous, and just loads of people. Very scenic.
Now, when you said they had a good blue marlin bite, like, was it, were you just surprised at the quality of fishing, or were they saying that it was a good, like, is this just a normal tournament for them, or did they have exceptionally good fishing that year?
I think they traditionally have better fishing than we've heard about,
Uh-huh.
but this year these last 2 years, I think, were exceptionally good.
Hmm.
Newt was telling me about the numbers of fish that they saw there, and it was pretty staggering. He did not want to leave. And none of the guys that went wanted to leave, but they thought it was amazing.
I started following a charter boat out of there, and they catch some fish, a lot of big tuna and a lot of blue marlin.
Cavalier?
Yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah, he won the tournament.
Makes sense.
Yeah, he won the tournament. They had a 20,000 euro prize. I guess the most fish that's ever won that tournament was 3 fish. Hopefully I don't get this wrong. They had a 20,000 euro prize for the first boat that released 3 fish. And he was the first boat to release 3 fish, and he won the tournament with 4 fish, I think.
Yeah. Nice.
There was a 800-pounder caught. It was quite a few 2, 3, and 4s. We marked a lot of fish. We saw some just free swimmers there. And that's all there was. No dolphin, no tuna. They have bluefins there, but not that time of year, I guess. It was just all blue marlins.
That's cool.
So, yeah, and everybody was set up to pitch bait, so it was cool. It was a lot of fun to watch.
Canaries.
Huh. I'd love to go back there.
What was the thing about there was an American boat there with a sonar during the tournament?
I don't think it was American. It might have been South African. It might have been American. It might have been South African. I can't remember. But we actually saw him. Carrie and I went out to dinner, and we were walking along the Malecon there, and we saw that boat anchored out. And the guy said, "Yeah, he doesn't like to come into the marina." And he was a sonar boat. And he was not fishing the tournament. He was just there fishing. And they got on the radio and actually asked this guy to turn his sonar off during the tournament. And he did. Supposedly he did. And, he had, I think that he did, and he still had a crowd of people around him for a while. And then he just took off and went in a different direction. And kind of got away from the fleet. The fleet kind of stuck together along this 8-mile stretch. A lot of bait, just tremendous amounts of bait. And I bet you we marked, well, the first day that we caught the first day that we saw the 3, I was on a boat called the Hedonist. And he marked all 3 of those fish on the bottom machine. Mm-hmm. Which was really cool. I mean, I saw one, the kid. There was like 8-year-old kid on the boat. He comes upstairs and all he does is speak Spanish. And he says, "Yeah, I want to see what's on the bottom machine." He comes upstairs and he goes, "Dad, there's one right there." And his dad goes, "Yeah, whatever." He turns around and he's like, "Holy shit, there's one right there!" And he didn't get that out of his mouth, and boom, he was on the teaser. So that kid was really proud. But we marked quite a few on the bottom machine that on all the boats we were on.
Damn.
It's probably a good amount of fish there then.
Yeah, there was a good amount of fish.
I mean, 50 for 30 boats in 2 days is pretty good.
And
Yeah, for no sonar, it's
Yeah.
And that was Gran Canary, the island that we were on, because there's La Gomera, I guess, and there's Tenerife, maybe. I hope I don't screw these up.
yeah, Tenerife. That's my boss's partner has a house there.
We're in a store in Tenerife, I think, maybe two, and there was a lot of flippy floppies being trolled there. That was cool. Yeah, never don't hate seeing that.
Yeah. Dredges too?
Dredges too, yes. We had dredges. All the boats that I fished on had dredges. Yeah, and the parties were great. I mean, there is no way that a single person left that party on awards night without a hangover the next morning. They were throwing down. Families, all the families go. You know, it's a big family event. They were throwing down hard, dancing all night long. So it was cool to see. Great food, obviously, and bands, and everybody was having a great time. I bet you not too many boats fished the next day. And then from there we went to Portugal, and we had some bad luck in Portugal, but it was a cool place. We went to the Algarve coast of Portugal, and I really wanted to catch a white marlin there. They had 6 boats that really got on them like 3 days before we got there, and they were 4 miles off the beach, and they were seeing 10, 12, 15, 20 fish per boat.
Wow.
And they found them by accident. They were actually just trolling for dolphin. A guy went out at 3:00 in the afternoon with his family, trolling for dolphin, trying to get a couple dolphin for dinner, and just got wolf pack after wolf pack of white marlin.
Wow.
And then
what time of year is this?
Well, this was right before we went to the Azores, so I want to say it was September.
I gotcha.
Yeah,
I'll never
Nice.
see that.
You'll never see that.
4 miles off the beach, yeah.
On the
4
other side of the
miles.
ocean.
He'd rather run 400.
Hey,
You're not fishing if you don't go 90 miles.
I go fishing. I go fishing out of here. I'm halfway there.
Yeah. Let's keep going.
But the potential is definitely there. They catch quite a few big blues there, and the Algarve coast. And I was fishing with Hugo Silva. I don't know if you guys know Hugo, but he makes those. I have some. I can go get them. They're right in the other room. He makes those customized leather marlin gloves with the big padded leather on the back of the hand for your and he sells them to just about all the big dudes. Cool gloves. But I was fishing with him. Got to hear some great stories of Cape Verde. Yeah, triples and quads of blue marlin. We saw a double there last year, but anyway, it just wasn't our luck. We got really cold water. It was like 17 degrees. What's 17 degrees? Do you know?
Pretty cold.
Yeah.
Under 40 degrees, right?
No.
Wait, Celsius is like times maybe low 40s?
No, it was in the 60s, I think. 17, 18 degrees was in the 60s, I think.
62.
Yeah. So it was cold.
Yeah.
And it was 22 degrees 6 days before we got there. So they were
that'd be 71. It's not that warm.
It's not that warm.
But
it's not.
It's a big difference. It's 10 degrees. Almost
yeah. I mean, we didn't even mark bait. It was pitiful. I kind of was hoping that we'd call it, but we kept trying. And then
can't give up.
Nick, you can't give up, but if the conditions tell you not to keep going, I mean, where it's just prohibited. I mean,
the people who give up are the lucky ones. They get to go home early. So
That's right. That's right.
I wish I
But
could sometimes. No,
um,
can't do it.
and then I went to a place that I've never been to. It's that bucket list place. I'm not a real big uh big fish guy. I'd much rather catch a lot of little ones and stay active all day. But we went to the Azores. Uh, Fernando and I, my buddy from Angola that I fished with in Angola, Fernando and I went to the Azores with no boat in mind. We weren't even planning on fishing. Um, Fernando's family has history in the Azores, and he goes, "Let's just go. If you can get invited on a boat, because I had a lot of friends there." He goes, "If you can get invited on a boat, you go. I'm just going to go sightseeing and try and find some family history." Well, the day before we're supposed to fly out of the Algarve, um, Zach Condi called me and he said I had a cancellation. I mean, how lucky is that? And he's like, "You want 6 days?" I was like, "Whoa, cowboy." We took 3 days and we caught a blue on the pitch. And Zach's an emotional dude. If you haven't heard, Zach can get amped up. And I'd never fished with him, but my buddy Finn Gaddy fishes with him a lot, and he's like, "Yeah, he likes to catch him, and he gets upset when you don't, uh, or he gets upset when you do sometimes and just don't do it right." Uh, and we had a fish come up on the left teaser, and I pitched it, and I don't know what I did wrong. I did something wrong because that pitch bait went about 20 feet in the air. Um, and it just went,
But the
and
fish ate it?
well,
Or did
I
you
don't
throw it that hard?
know. I threw it and he went to grab it, and I think I forgot to put it in free spool, maybe.
What?
Well, shit happens.
At least
and,
he's honest. I appreciate that.
and Zach went, "No," and I'm like, "Here it comes," and he didn't say anything.
Well, yeah,
And
because
That's
there's
it.
no helping you. Like, you only tell the people that are actually like could use it, like are teachable.
he came back around, and I did it perfectly and hooked him and released him.
That. With what
That's
pitch
it.
bait? Was it gone? You
Huh?
had another one?
No, the pitch bait was still there. It was just kind of came shooting out of its mouth and went 20 feet in the air.
That's
And
funny.
Ah, now I get it. Because he ate it and you were holding it, but you're
yeah,
Yeah,
holding it
and
with
it's slingshot out of his mouth.
it
the
slingshot out of its mouth.
drag
And he
engaged. Because
yeah.
why
And
wouldn't you open the drag?
well, I meant to.
How big
Um
was it?
it wasn't as big as he said it was. I want to say it was probably 400. And anyway, after I screwed that up, he he just made a big loop and he came back and he gave me another chance. And I got him.
Nice.
And then the last day, this place is a mecca. I mean, it's to go there in September and go to the bar, Pete's Bar, it's called, uh, and just see everybody. Everybody was there. Gray was there. Camilla was there. Uh, um,
Probably be better off naming the boats instead of the people.
uh,
For
Austin, the Sea Angel guys were there. The Big O guys were there. Obviously, the Bad Company guys were there. And not only were the Bad Company guys there, but they had the legends there that week, where they had Barky Garnsey and Charles Perry and Steve Lasley. They were all there, and then like I said, the Sea Angel guys, and then all the local guys, Olaf, and I mean, just is everywhere you turned, you just turned and you saw, these Blue Marlin gurus. They were all there, and it was fun talking to them. Garrett was there. Garrett Penley was there on. I can't remember the name of the boat he was on, but they were some great stories were to be shared there, and And then we did not see, I don't think we saw a fish on the last day, but as we were coming in this channel in between two islands, Pico and Fayal or Horta, whatever it's called, there was bluefins busting and big eyes jumping and mackerel everywhere. And Zach's like, we can save the day and catch a bluefin. And it didn't take but a minute, and Zach Fernando caught a nice bluefin, and a couple buddies pulled big eyes out of there. George Pavaramo was there with Kerry Chen. They were filming a show, and George caught a big eye there.
Nice.
It's a spectacular place.
Are people fishing on top of each other there? Or is it kind of you can go your own way and get like, I mean, when I say on top of each other, like within eyesight, or maybe not within eyesight, but in the localized area.
The only boat that we really fished around, and they did very well, was Wave Paper.
Yeah.
They caught 3, I think, that day. And we Zach went on a hunt. He went to the other side of the Azores bank. And that's where we saw our fish and caught it. And I think I don't know if he called us in or just the Wave Paper knew where we were, but he showed up right shortly thereafter. Caught one on the way, caught one passing us. That was fun. And then saw another 2 and caught one more right in there. There was a lot of bait, a lot of life, a lot of birds. But that was the only other boat we saw. All the other boats kind of went around the island to the right. One thing I didn't know about was the Condor Bank. If you're not a
local charter boat, right?
Portuguese flagged boat,
I got you.
You can't fish the Condor Bank, which, I thought, Zach was born in the Azores. I thought Zach would be able to do it. So I was all excited that we were going to go to the Condor Bank. But Zach, actually, his boat is flagged in Cape Verde. So when I got on the boat, I was like, great. So we're not on a sonar boat and we can't go to the Condor Bank. I was like, this is going to suck. And it didn't suck. We saw fish. Zach was fabulous. One of your prior guests was our mate, James David. Is that right?
Yeah.
He was fabulous. God, he was a joy to talk to. Very quiet, ate up fisherman. But he was really, really cool to learn from. He was on the boat with us. But the Condor Bank guys, they were getting them. They're, all those boats, all those, little 35, 40-foot boats were seeing a fish or 2 a day. And getting them.
Is the Condor Bank the biggest or the best spot typically, or is it just the closest?
So I was listening to Les Gallagher, I think, on a podcast or a TV show, and that is where the mass migration of mackerel butt up against that bank.
Okay.
And that's what he said was holding them, and holds them every year. Right or wrong, I don't know, but it sounded good. And he's been there forever. So they
How
did
big is that marina there?
I don't know, probably 10 or 12 long docks, and then they had the big long along the outside edge, probably 15 docks, and the big boat docks along the outside edge for like the motherships and shit like that.
Yeah, because who goes there without their own yacht?
Like, come on. There's you had the Viva, I guess you had the Viva Mas, and you had the Bad Company, and then there was quite a couple others there. just a cool place to go.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. I don't know if I'll ever go back, but just because that big fish doesn't excite me as much as,
Yeah, but
seeing.
it was decent fishing. I mean, still good blue marlin fishing any way you look at it.
I talked to BC and he's just like, I mean, we've seen an 800 pounder is a fish of a lifetime, and we've seen one a week.
Yeah.
That's great, and plus you get all the other ones too.
Yeah, it's not like it's the only bite of the day of the week.
I thought that about Cape Verde before I went for the first time, and the amount of 250 to 300-pound fish that we saw in Cape Verde was amazing.
Yeah.
Before we saw a 600-pounder, that was awesome. I think this is a little bit more on the bigger go home than Cape Verde, but you still do see 300-400-pound fish. And if one thing that Zach was asking me about was, how do we market this fishery to the tuna fishermen? Because you can crush it if you're a tuna fisherman.
Mm-hmm.
Those bluefins and big eyes are here all the time. And a mothership, I don't know if it was a mothership or just a giant yacht that likes to go fishing, was out there, and I think they caught like a 200-pound yellowfin trolling along. It's just like everything there is extra large.
Yeah. I mean, how do you market? You just go fishing and for tunas.
You just go fishing for tunas, and
That's a lot to do with it.
That's it.
Yeah, that's it.
It's pretty simple. Anthony hit it right on the head.
I mean, don't drive around them. Drive to them if that's what you want to do.
Yeah, I mean, he was trying to figure out how to get that tuna fisherman out of New England, or out of PEI to come to the Azores.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, catch it and film it.
Yeah.
That's it. Catch it, film it, and get on social media. And he's a social media guy too. Zach is. So I think you would love it there. Both of you guys would. It really is a cool.
I like seeing the ocean alive. It doesn't matter if it's tunas or, obviously you'd like to see marlins more so than, well, we would like to see marlins more so than anything. But just being around a live ocean like that with the birds and the bait and the tunas and everything would be amazing. That's all anymore. That's all I really. I'll settle for that.
I think Galapagos, Mag Bay, and Azores are alive. Like I've never seen it before. It's amazing how cool it is. Just nuts.
Was the water like, I hear about the Azores and them having decent to good blue marlin fishing in like cooler water.
It was cooler.
Yeah, I mean, when I say cooler water, was it in like the mid 70s or was it in the low 70s, high 60s?
I think it was in the low to mid 70s.
Oh wow.
Yeah. I don't remember exactly, but I think it was in the low to mid 70s. And he was explaining, Zach, man, you should have Zach on here one time.
Maybe.
He was explaining basically why they're there, and it's just the food, obviously.
Yeah.
The food, the big food is there to be able to sustain the big billfish, but why they're so tolerant of it, I don't.
The food.
It's the food. Yeah.
I mean, we've seen that here in Ocean City. Cooler green water, and the bait's there. They're still there as long as they've come through once before. But
and the other romantic part about the Azores, very much like Cape Verde, is you may not be on the same island for a few days.
Yeah.
Cape Verde, especially, you pack a bag when you go fishing in Cape Verde. You may not come back to Mandela. You may go to San Nicolau or San Pedro, somewhere, some other island for the night, which is really cool. You get to see a lot of different stuff there. I enjoyed it. I really did. And I think the vibe the vibe of the Azores is just amazing. It's definitely your vibe, just seeing the people that are there and talking to them on the docks. It's a different vibe than both Canary and Portugal.
Did you get to explore the island at all?
We did a little bit. I don't want to go too far into it to bring it down because it's been a fun podcast. But the day after we fished our last day, we were supposed to go to another island to do a lot of sightseeing, and I got a call that Jen had a heart attack, and I had to fly home. Oh, which is another thing I wanted to talk about. Actually, Jen had this massive heart attack. Johnny Duffy was leaving, and he heard about it, and he's like, fly to JFK. I have a private plane that'll pick us up in JFK and take us back right away. And Anthony Shea sent me a message, and he said, the plane's not here, but I could have the plane here in 2 days to take you home. And I was like, nah, I'm leaving tomorrow, but just the generosity of these guys, it's just absolutely crazy that Anthony was like, I'll get the plane here if you can wait 2 or 3 days to get here, for the plane to get here, and then it'll take you wherever you need to go.
Straight to Salisbury. That would have been
straight to Salisbury. Yeah. I mean, it's just
that would have been a sight.
Yeah. It's just unbelievable how generous these guys are. And obviously Johnny and I have been friends for years, but Anthony and I have met once and have chatted 5 times online. And he was still willing to do that for me, which says something for our community, which is, unbelievable.
Yeah.
And Jen's fine. So
that's
the important part.
That's the ideal conclusion of it.
Yeah.
She didn't even have a heart attack.
It was crazy. I mean, she's 20 years her junior now, feeling so much better. It's unbelievable. Somewhere in there, I went to Guatemala with the Blood Money crew. That was during the Mid-Atlantic, wasn't it?
I don't know. Did you fish the Mid-Atlantic?
I did. I fished the Mid-Atlantic with Team Harvey. So either before or after the Mid-Atlantic.
Yes.
Pete and Ernie and the whole Blood Money crew went to Guatemala to fish with Eddie Breeze.
Not the whole team. Anthony wasn't there.
Well, my life doesn't revolve around the Blood Money anymore. So.
He is Team Seahag.
Yes.
Once a Blood Moneyer, always a Blood Moneyer is what I say. And we went to unbelievable summertime fishing in Guatemala. Holy hell. We saw no bottom machine. His bottom machine was broken. No bottom machine. He probably had he didn't even have the little daughter thing that we had in the 70s. We saw 35 fish and a blue marlin on the first day.
Wow.
Off season, if there is such a thing there.
Just trolling around
just trolling them around and running them over. Eddie's amazing. Slow boat, old boat, and just absolutely amazing. And I mean, I want to say we did great. We fucked off a lot of them. We didn't screw up. We didn't miss any of the blues. We caught 2 or 3 blues on that trip. But again, Guatemala just right now they're going crazy. And this was 6 months ago that we went, and it hasn't really stopped.
Yeah.
It's back. Guatemala is absolutely on fire right now. But anyway, we went there with most of the Blood Money team and had a great time there. And then I got a call. You got to go here, Anthony. And actually, you have an open invite to come here. I got a call to go to Kenya to fish a sailfish tournament in Kenya. Now I really want to go there and do some of that sword fishing and go to the Seychelles and do some of that blue marlin fishing. But the sail fishing was really good. A lot of fun. Went safaring for 5 days or 3 days before that. Saw some cool stuff, lions chasing antelope and stuff, and stared at a water buffalo right in the eyes, and he just looks at you. Every time I look at a water buffalo, I think of that scene from the Animal House.
Like there's been more than one time, which is unbelievable. Like every time. Every time I see a water
Every time. Happens every time.
Every time I look at a water buffalo and I look at him in the eyes, I just think of that scene from the Animal House when they walk into that bar and the guy comes to the table and says, "Can we dance with you on dates?" That is exactly what a water buffalo looks like before it decides that it wants to kill you. But there was my bungalow was at Batian's house. My bungalow was right on a fence line, and I shine the light on. They gave me a flashlight to walk to my bungalow every night, and I see all these lights, and I start walking towards it, and it was like 7 or 8 water buffalo.
What is the matter with you?
They just wanted to. Oh, I gotta send you
the number of ways you could have died, and the fact you're living is shocking to me. Let's walk towards the light. We're just in Africa, in the middle of a safari land. Unbelievable.
Actually, Batian's wife said, "I'm not sure if I wouldn't wait a few minutes before you go to your room."
No, I'm just Bill Pino. Things will work out for me. They always do.
It'll be fine. But we saw some cool stuff. We saw a pack of lions eating a zebra.
Could have been you.
And then we flew down. But Batian has a little plane, and we flew to Malindi and fished this tournament. And I think we finished second or third. It was a blast.
How's the fishing?
We saw at least a dozen a day, and we caught. I think one day we saw quite a few more. We saw a bunch, but they just weren't feeding. We saw them on bait balls, and we couldn't get them off the bait balls. It was very Isla-like, just bait balls and just a bunch of trash bags around the bait ball.
Didn't do the line and drop thing?
I tried.
Gotcha.
I tried. They weren't. We tried it once and it didn't work, so we didn't try it very much after that.
Next time, just run another technique I use in Isla is just after I get annoyed with it, I just run the bait ball over.
Yeah,
that's the only thing I know.
It works.
Actually, I forgot about this. We fished 2 tournaments. We won the light line tournament because we used lighter line than everybody else. I think we were using 8 and 16. And you got bonus points for the lighter the line. So while we caught the same number of sailfish, one guy caught a giant trevally. Everything counts. Everything counts. One guy caught a giant trevally, which was over 50 pounds. So we thought we lost to him, but we were using 8 and 16, so we got more bonus points. And that was fun. So they test their drag. You know how we test our drags before every tournament? They take 3 water bottles and tie them together. And then you just take your rod and you lift up. And 3 water bottles is 5 pounds of drag.
Okay.
Wow.
Done. I had to videotape that.
I like that.
Yeah. And I brought ballyhoo. That helped, I think.
You brought ballyhoo to Africa?
Yeah, I took a case of ballyhoo to Africa.
Jeez Louise, that's a long way to go.
It was hard as a rock. And I did not, I told these guys when we were going to El Salvador and we were taking ballyhoo, I was like, do not put ice in your bags, that they will keep each other cold.
Mhm.
And I mean, it took me 32 hours, I think, to get to Kenya, and they were hard as a rock when we got there.
Yeah.
Wow.
But I want to. We didn't do this, but they explained this to me, and this sounds like so cool. So they troll at night for swordfish with two downriggers, okay, and they use like chuggers with conger eels or bonita bellies or something like that, and they put them at different depths, and then they have a spinning rod and two or three different weight fly rods, and they troll slowly along the edge, and then you'll hear a zip zip, and you have a swordfish on the teaser
Downrigger.
Yeah.
and on the downrigger. So they start bringing it up. This is the cool part.
Does it pop off the downrigger or does it?
It I think it does pop off the downrigger. You are correct. So they're bringing it up, and there's a lot of bioluminescent algae there. So these swordfish are doing this, going after going after the teaser, and they can gauge the size of the swordfish and what weight rod to throw at the swordfish by the bioluminescent algae that comes off the fish.
Mm.
So they'll be like, that's a 100-pound fish, throw a 16-pound. That's a 50-pound fish, throw an 8-pound. And they really got it down to a science. They've caught quite a few on the fly.
Did you do it there or no?
I haven't done it yet. I can't wait to do it. I'm definitely going next year. We have a trip where we're gonna. I can't remember the name of the town, but it's further north up towards Somalia.
Perfect.
That we're gonna go.
Safe.
No concept of it's cool. Don't worry.
I mean, if they do it,
That's true. I mean, I appreciate that. Yeah.
they do it, but it's further up the coast, and I don't think that there's. I think that piracy thing is not dead, but I don't think it's anywhere near what it, as dangerous as what they don't want. They don't want the 40-foot game fisher.
Yeah.
They're looking for a ship, for Christ's sakes.
I'm sure they'll take anything.
I'm sure anybody with American passport would be just fine.
Yeah.
But there was a 46 Bill Fisher there. That a guy that we were staying with owns, and they actually won the tournament, and I think they caught 26 for the 2-day tournament. So there's good sailfish in there.
Yeah.
There's good blue marlin too. I talked to a kid that lives there a little bit, and they catch all sorts of other billfish species.
Yeah, the first time I went, we caught a stripe and a blue.
Yeah.
And missed another blue. So there's definitely decent. And they killed the winning boat, which is the same little shit that won this tournament. Came in second. No, he was the captain of the boat that won. He was the captain of the Bill Fisher. Great guy. I say little shit because I'm admiring him. He won the tournament that I fished last year with a 678 blue.
Wow.
Are you fishing pretty shallow water there too, Bill? Like up on the reef or something like that, or like on a bank?
What they do is the entire fleet basically runs 3 miles, probably to the reef, puts over the lines, trolls out about 12 miles, does about 10 or 12 circles, and then trolls back. That's your day. Some of the guys have really gotten keen on the way we do it in Costa Rica and the way we do it at home with dredges and light rods. And then some of the other guys are still fishing in the 80s with 80-pound tests and big lures, no matter what size. So
are they do that because of you could find them anywhere there between the reef, or because they don't have a lot of fuel?
They could be anywhere.
I gotcha.
They there's we heard this happened in the Canaries too. We heard hookups and 120 feet, and we heard hookups and 600 feet. So they could be anywhere there.
Gotcha.
As a matter of fact, I think we saw our first blue last year within 20 minutes of trolling, so we were not that far out.
Yeah.
And there's these young guys. It kind of reminds me of you guys or us years and years and years ago when we just were like putting 50, 60, $100 in and loading the boat up with people to go out fishing just to be able to go out. There's these young guys that are really, really good fishermen in a panga kicking everybody's ass. Kicking everybody's ass. They got second. They got second in both tournaments last year and this year. Really good dudes. Really good fishermen. But Batian wants you to come. Batian wants to try and get a group of mates and anglers and maybe a captain or two to come, and he really wants to see would the fishing be much better if they could get that caliber of crew there. Now, some of those crews are that caliber, but a lot of those guys are weekend guys that are just out there having fun.
Yeah,
and he wants to put guys on all these boats, good mates, good anglers, good captains on all these boats, and go see how much different the fishing would be. I think that would be cool. And he's the guy that I told you about.
Yeah.
That's looking for a boat. So that would be awesome.
Yeah, that'd be amazing. I would love to do something like that again. I haven't done something like that since El Salvador. Not that I have much time to do it, but I'll make time for that. What time of year is that? October? November? September?
I guess I went in October.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, I went in October.
Same day as the White Marlin Open.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah. That's cool. Be curious to see. I just want to see. It just seems like there's so much there. But
you're traveling for quite a bit there.
It was one of those situations where the opportunities kept popping up, and we weren't fishing that much at home. And the fishing was great for a few boats at home. Most of the boats were having below average fishing, and some of the boats were killing it. So I just said I'm going to take this year and travel, and there's places that I want to go. I want to go to Mozambique. There's places I want to go that I haven't been to, but I ended up going to some places the second time that were just a lot of fun.
Do you find it, like, for example, like, I don't know, like when I going back to Isla last year, going back there, like, do you learn? I guess you're not really running the boat, so you're just kind of there on the back of the boat trying to make the best of your chances. But like understanding things a little bit better the second go around, do you find that value in that? I mean, I know you like going other places, but I feel like it's kind of nice to go learn, take what you learn, go back, think about it for a little bit, and go back there. Like I'll probably be worse this year in Isla, but.
The difference would be that in Kenya, we were doing two different types of fishing.
Yeah.
In Kenya, we were marlin fishing the first tournament. We were strictly sail fishing this tournament. But that's really appropriate talk for Galapagos, where I've been to Galapagos 4 or 5 times now. And every year I come home, and luckily we have a crew that's willing to do this. Every year I come home and I was like, okay, we got to try this. We got to try this. We got to do this. We got to do that. And these guys, the first time I went to the Galapagos, I was drinking, so it was 2010, 2009, 2009, 2008. I wanted to go
there. Did they run out of alcohol? It's a long ways away from the mainland.
Oh my gosh.
I tried. I was reading these numbers of fit. These guys were going 3 for 28, 5 for 35. And I was like, why? Why are they doing this? You know? So the first time I went, they're ballyhoos. Remember those ballyhoos I brought home?
The
Those
Galapagos.
the Galapagos, they were 19 to 21 inch ballyhoos. And they were using a short shanked, remember those weighted J hooks? They were using a short shanked weighted J hook that barely got out of the gullet of the fish. You know, that's how close it was to the head. And then you had 18 and a half inches of ballyhoo behind that. And I was like, or they were trolling lures. And I was like, okay, now I understand why. So we went back a year later with Nicholas, or 7 months later with Nicholas, and we took medium ballyhoos and small dredges and did infinitely better. And then we went back again, and he bought the guy bought dredge reels. You know, he bought he bought LP, he bought an LP, and they're really willing to learn. And I was kind of telling these guys, you're getting tourists that want to fish. But if you want to get these guys that charter in Costa Rica, or if you want to get these guys that work in Costa Rica to come charter you, we need dredges, we need LPs, we need Tiernos and BFCs and stuff like that. And he's like, okay. And he bought it all. And now it's hard for me to get a date fishing with these guys because they're booked solid. And I mean, they got the fish tank crew, they got the pescador crew, they got this crew, that crew. They're all going there to experience Galapagos.
Yeah.
So you learn and you bring it back,
Do you all the places you travel, do you find that, like, I mean, I know that you fish a lot of places where the numbers and the smaller fish, whether it be sails or marlins, are kind of the thing to do, but like, do you find that the way we fish in Central America and the East Coast, dead baiting is kind of still the most effective way? Or does it
the only place that I thought was more effective or more fun was in Morocco, where we pitch baited everything.
Every fish, yeah.
Every fish. They use these little sardines, and they take the hook and they put it right through the nose, and they keep the rod tip in the line, as much line out of the water. They raise a white marlin, and we were the year that I went with Zach, or maybe it was the year that we satellite tagged all those fish. We were 17 for 18 doing that. And that was a blast.
Yeah.
All of us were 17. Joan, Fernando, Kim, and I were.
But
we
how
were
many?
All...
And then how many more were back there though that you could have capitalized on them? And not that I'm defending it.
We could. I think, and I thought we were going to do this, and we ended up not doing it for some reason. All I asked for were 2 long rigger baits. I wanted 2 long rigger baits out there. And because I wanted to see exactly that. How many more would we have caught? And, Laurent had a good explanation. He's like, there may be families coming after you, but for the majority of the time, there's 2 coming after you. And do you want them on your long riggers, or do you want them in your flatlines pitch baited? What's more exciting? And so I think, to answer your question, I think for billfish, the way they do it in Costa Rica and Ocean City and North Carolina has shined everywhere we went.
Yeah.
And it's and you can see like Angola was a perfect example when the Angolans came to Costa Rica to learn how to fish, and they took that technique back to Angola. That fishery exploded.
Yeah.
It's always been a good fishery, but the catch rate, the ratio, everything. And immediately people didn't fight it. Immediately people saw the results, and they started asking how to do this, and went to Costa Rica and did it, and came back. So I think, I don't think that there's a better way to do it. There's different techniques within that way.
Yeah.
that everybody has, and there's captain shit that you guys do that obviously makes one team a whole lot better than the other. And I think that's probably the most secretive part of it, is what you guys see and why you guys do what you do to get these things to get behind the boat.
Mm-hmm.
That's the mystery to us down in the cockpit. Why is this guy better than that guy? Consistently. Consistently. It's not like, one guy may have a great day, but that may be an anomaly. But why are you on the top of the leaderboard often? Why is Duffy always there? Why are these guys? Why is Nick always killing it? There's something that you guys are doing that we don't know what the hell it is. And I think that's one of the things that Bathian and Kenya was thinking about, was if I could get these guys there to teach us what the hell they're doing, will our ratios improve? Will we see a lot more fish?
I would say, I don't know. We'll have to find out.
Yeah. Come on, Nick.
It's fucking magic is what I say.
Come on.
I think you'd see a difference.
I think even if you don't do much different, just from a conversion rate, you're talking about some places that the fish were always there behind the boat. You just change things and try to capitalize on the bites.
I'll give you a perfect example. Turning the boat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
how you guys turn the boat to get us the maximum number of bites or the best bite from the fish that's behind the boat is something that most of the places I go to don't know how to do.
So even like when you say turning, this is pre-hookup, like,
pre-hookup.
Okay.
Pre-hook. Pre-hookup. And after the first bite.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was gonna say probably during the first bite, they may not. They might just start backing up right away, and I don't know what they do, but
I tell you this, and I know this is going to be controversial, but if you did what you guys do with the spinning tackle that they use, it would be a murder scene, because it's so much easier to hook a fish with spinning tackle, and it's not as sporting and it's not as exciting, but it's so much easier.
You're saying this is trolling, right? Trolling,
dead bait with spinning tackle. I'm not saying I like it, because I've always got a conventional in my hand when everybody else has a spinning rod in their hand. Unless I'm picking up somebody else's rod because they're hooked up, I'm always fishing a conventional.
Do you have issues with the line, like at the end of the day?
Well, they untwist it.
Like in the middle of the day, or like?
Yeah. They'll untwist it. They'll untwist it twice a day. They'll untwist it in the middle of the day, and then on the way in, they'll untwist it.
Yeah, that's the reason why people don't use spinning rods for trolling. Because I mean, it is an easier way to hook a fish for sure, but it then becomes less easy. So because of the hooking, the spinning of the line and the jacked upness.
Oh, I loved it, and I remember in Angola one time we were unspinning the line, and I don't think you're supposed to have the swivel on when you're unspinning the line. I think you're supposed to just like let it out free, maybe. I'm not sure. But they had a little teeny swivel, and they raised the fish to the swivel. They raised the sailfish to the swivel. That was really cool. So they teased the fish in with the swivel to pitch to it. And we ended up catching the fish.
Wow.
That's when they're fucking fired up.
They're fired up, Well, how many times have you heard the wahoo ate the swivel?
Yeah. That means there's a lot of them there. The wahoos are eating swivels. That means there's lots of wahoos there, or whatever. That's pretty cool. I'd be down for a trip to Kenya. Never been to Africa.
You see, you would definitely look at a water buffalo right in the eye too. I know you would.
No. I don't have that much confidence in my mortality. You do. You've been there and done it.
It is intimidating to watch, to hear, to listen to a lion eat a zebra. And being so close to that animal that you can hear the bone crunching as they're doing it. It's intimidating as hell.
That's awesome. That's like good pre-workout to go fishing, get all jacked up.
Yeah.
All right, let's go catch some sails.
If you see a jag are they're not jaguars, what are they, leopards, chase down a water buck, you're not going to be so excited when that sailfish comes up
Yeah.
on the right teaser. But I would I would highly encourage, in the last, I guess in the last 10, 15 years, I've seen so much more travel. There's two facets of this industry that I've seen really go crazy. One is travel fishing. Costa Rica really blew that up. Costa Rica, Guatemala, those places is, everybody, all the rich and famous went to Australia back in the 70s, but Costa Rica has gone crazy. And women fishing is, the women tournaments now, what is it, Pescadora, the ladies Triple Crown, the Tuna and Tierras, the Poor Girls, those tournaments are the biggest growing tournaments on the circuit now.
For sure.
And it's amazing to see and how well they're doing. That they used to be the girls that you would bring on a boat and you'd be like, try not to touch that. Now everybody wants a Michelle Keeney or Laura or any of these, Stacy, any of these women that are just fabulous anglers. You ought to do a podcast on why. Why the hell have they become so great? So many of them are getting so good.
More chances.
Michelle would be fun, but she would never do it. But I'll ask her again.
She wouldn't do it?
No.
I bet you if you got
maybe after a couple of cocktails.
Just mic her up.
Yeah, that'd be our highest viewed one for sure.
But that's been, I read something that in Florida, the biggest application for fishing licenses aren't 16-year-olds that need license. They're all, that 25 to 45-year-old woman.
Yeah.
That's been the biggest thing. That's a marketing bonanza for somebody. I don't know who, but anyway, we got off track there. So where else should we go, Anthony?
Exmouth, Australia.
Oh yeah.
I knew you were going to say
That's
I don't know if I'd
that's
come
the
back.
Mecca.
I don't
one
know
day
if
one day I'm just gonna call you up and say, let's go.
Let's go. And I mean, there's really Eddie Lawyer that on the peak sport fishing is, as far as, I mean, granted, this is on the other side of the world. I didn't even know that there was like consistent fishing for spearfish in the Mediterranean before tonight. So like, I don't know how many boats are fishing out of that place, but it seems like that place is, I don't know. He's there on a 27 contender and a 38 Blackwatch, and he's fucking crushing it.
Killing it.
Absolutely
killing it.
So
I'd like to find the next place where I'd like to, because it's out there.
Yeah.
Where is the next place that's gonna explode?
I mean, Brazil, I would think that, the problem is that, like, I've heard Brazil, like, for these bigger programs getting, like, if you're looking at, like, the next place for anglers to go, or you're looking for whole programs like the Azores has been, I mean, I would think
the problem with Brazil is the 100% import tax.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of would make things, because I mean, just Brazil's an amazing country as it is, and the fishing's there. They just don't have shockingly, they don't have the resources to have a lot of people out there fishing a lot. There's people that fish in Brazil, obviously, but not like.
Oh, great fishermen in
And there's
Brazil.
like those guys on the Zoom boat, Zoom
Yeah.
Yeah.
out of Rio. They don't even catch small blue marlins. They just catch
Yeah.
big ones all the time.
And you don't hear about, just like in the Azores back in the early 2000s or late 90s, we never really heard about the hordes of white marlin that they were trying to get away from.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
the Brazil's got some incredible white marlin fishing.
Yeah.
I have a prediction that there's going to be a place in Peru called Punta Sal.
Yeah, yeah. I was gonna
That
say
is
that too.
Punta Sal.
Uh, someone, what's his name?
John LeGrone's son went there.
Yeah, with I can't believe Mark Pagano.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, I
Mark,
didn't
they
know Mark went there. Yeah.
yeah, they went there last year.
And
They first got there, they had like two
oh,
really, really good days, and then they got some current came in and brought in a ton of green water and cold water, and it shut the bite off for the entire season.
yeah, that is a problem there. That current there can
But
switch
they
them.
caught I want to say 9, 11 fish or something, like
Striped marlins, right?
big fish. Yeah,
Stripes and blacks and blues. Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, that's tradition. That was a place in the 50s, and
yeah.
then that commercial fishing. I don't know. You'd have to figure it out.
we
But
could
yeah, I
get
would.
him on the pod. He'll be a
Yeah,
good person to talk to.
I would say.
If if people weren't afraid to travel, I would also say Oman. I can't wait to go Oman. There is some absolute
That's what I've heard.
and BK said yes to that. You know, so I plan on going there.
What kind of
Yeah,
fishing?
There's great black marlin fishing, and there's some ridiculous yellowfin fishing and GT fishing. But I think the black marlin is a huge, and sail fishing actually. Um, but there's not many boats there. But I understand it's fabulous, and some of the stuff that Fly's doing in the UAV, they're funding. Oh, I got a good one for you. When I was in Portugal, I was fishing with Manuel Vienas. I don't know if you know who Manuel Vienas is, but he won the Blue Marlin World Cup in Cape Verde with a grander. He's caught a few granders out of there. Anyway, his partner in some of these boats is a Korean guy. And they were talking about how you got to go to Korea to try and catch these billfish. You got to go to Korea to catch these billfish. And there, as far as I know, there's not very many sport fishing operations in Korea,
Mm-hmm.
bill fishing. So I looked it up while we were sitting there for 3 days catching dick in Portugal, and I looked up bill fishing in Korea. 17% of the bycatch on Korean longline boats are billfish.
17.
17%. I don't know what
Now, where are
paper.
they? How far has a Korean longline boat going?
This was off the coast of Korea.
Really? Huh.
This is and I told Manuel this, and he's like, "Let me see the paper," you know. And he's looking at the paper, and he's calling his partner, saying, "Is this true?" And he goes, "This is what I've been trying to tell you." So I think that there might be an exploratory trip that Manuel and I have been talking about going to Korea and trying to see if we can wrangle up some stripe and blue and black marlin. And I don't even know if it's black, but I know stripe and blue.
Yeah, I imagine if you look at windy weather is the most incredible free app, and there's a massive current that runs up the east coast of Japan, much like the Gulf Stream in the United States. I would think that they would have similar
Oh,
type
they have great
fishing.
bill fishing over
Yeah,
there.
in some places, I know that they have one huge tournament, but I mean, you're looking at places in major population centers, but I guess we don't really cross paths with culturally with that. You feel like the sport fishing industry is with the internet is so small because you can get reports from everywhere in the world, and then you hear somebody catching 9 9 spearfish in freaking Mallorca, so
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I've been listening to a lot of different podcasts lately because I've been spending a lot of time on the road, and I can't remember if it was Andy Mill or who the hell I was listening to um, that said that the only two 2,000-pound blue marlin ever caught were commercially caught off of Japan.
yeah.
I never even heard of a 2,000-pound blue marlin being weighed, but apparently it's been recorded as that'd be something to look up.
Yeah.
That the only two tonners were out of Japan.
That's a dinosaur.
Could you imagine seeing that behind the boat?
Seen a picture of like an 1,800-pounder weighed somewhere that
It was a
Oh,
commercially caught one.
that one in Hawaii. Wasn't there one that they handed off the rod? Choi Lee. It was an 1,800-pound fish.
I thought there was somewhere else too.
But anyway,
I don't know. I don't know where the next place is going to be. I mean, has to be for the next quote unquote place to be. It's got to be easy enough to get to and have the right fishing. I mean,
oh, people have been telling me off of India is spectacular, but who the hell are you going to get to take you off of?
India, Sri Lanka. There was one. I don't know if I have the picture anymore. I saw it on Instagram once, and it was billfish, and I think it was like in Sri Lanka or somewhere in the Indian Ocean, but it was billfish lined up on a beach, and it was every species of billfish that you could Pacific or Indian Ocean billfish that was available. It was there, and it was like I wouldn't say this was not an industrial. This was they pulled it off a panga onto the beach. Obviously, it was with a long line, right? It
right.
was, but it was like a artisanal, a more primitive. It wasn't an industrial longliner that caught this thing, and I was like, where the fuck is that? Because that's where I want to go. But what do you? I mean, you don't ever bring like your own stuff. Like I always thought it would be a great idea for you, like for the guy in Kenya, like you just have like a crate that you ship there in front of you with everything rigged and pretty much ready to go, and then
Yeah.
you like I've always thought that would be if for people that ask you for that sort of you could just be like, hey, this is how we'll do. I'll ship the crate and then what have you. But like you go to what expectations do you have when you go to the places like these, B? Like do you like have no expectation? Do you have an expectation for the fishing, but you have no expectation for the boat and the program you're fishing on? Because you fish from I mean, you fish on the fucking Unomas and you fish on a panga and wherever. So like I mean, you don't
So
really have a standard. You're just like if it floats and there's a half chance I don't die.
the first thing is, who are we fishing with there?
Yeah.
Are we fishing with a guy that's willing to try something completely new, or tweak what they're doing, or are we fishing with a proud guy that's the best guy there, and he wants to do it his way? And how many days do we have to go there? Because if we have days to go there, then we're like, okay, let's go fishing, let's do what you do,
Mhm.
and then say, can I tweak something? As a charter, it's not necessarily. I warn the guys. I'm bringing stuff. I'm bringing stuff that I'm going to leave for you guys,
Mhm.
but I'd like to try it. Um, so the expectation, it just depends on where we're going and who if we know who we're fishing with.
Yeah.
But it's most of the guys ask, "What did you bring?" And yeah, we can try it. And some of the guys look at the stuff and say, "No, we're not going to try that." Or yeah,
Yeah.
put it out.
I can appreciate that.
And you don't push it.
Yeah.
There are places where every single place, Anthony, every single place, and you can ask Donnie this or any of the guys that we fish with. Probably the third or fourth comment out of your mouth is, God, if we had the blood money here.
Yeah.
God, if we had this boat here, if we just had a sonar here, it's we're used to something completely different. So you got to have your mindset that it's not going to be like that.
Yeah.
Especially in some of these places where we pango fish. But now that there's there's battery operated dredge reels that we can buy. I am going to invest in at least one of those, and I have a crate that I could put that in, some dredges, and some spare batteries, and go and see if they'll let me do that. And some places are so damn good. In Guatemala, when the fishing's good in Guatemala, I think dredges get in your way.
Yeah, for sure.
I think they slow you down. It's when the fishing is not good that I think that the dredges is what that help you there. But and what your target is, am I going to go there with a bunch of 18-inch mud flaps because there's blue marlin there, or am I going to go with a crack minnow dredge, because there's a ton of sailfish or white marlin or spearfish, the dredges definitely helped us in Majorca. And he used our dredges when he saw that I brought a natural Fat Daddy dredge. He went crazy because he said that was his favorite dredge. So they definitely help. It's just a matter of how willing the guy is and how much you want to push it to see if they'll let you do it.
Yeah.
Most of these guys, when I show up, they know they're going to get a boatload of stuff for free. Because I leave the stuff on the boat because I don't want to bring it back.
They don't even realize how lucky they are.
Yeah, right. I think the first time I fished in Morocco, those guys couldn't wait to get rid of me. And you can imagine. I mean, I told the captain in Morocco, I said, we like to go into a turn when we hook a fish, right? And he's like, really? I said, yeah. So he goes, okay. So fish comes up, I hook it. He puts one motor in reverse, one motor in gear, and goes.
Nice. It's one way to do it.
If we could widen it out just as
how because I've been very aware of your frustration from a very young age. What
here we go.
I mean, do you go with a note? Because I feel like you go with a different attitude than
I go with a completely different attitude.
Yeah, I mean, because we've had some trips like to Mag Bay or what have you, and it's something wrong with us. We get lost. We don't appreciate how good the fishing is and how great it is because we're just
We want it to be better.
we want to do as good as we possibly can. And some people in some places, the fishing's so good that they don't even need to do as good as we can. It's wired into people like us, especially here on the East Coast, like because whenever we have good fishing here, it's a fleeting thing. So like when we're fishing abroad in some places on another boat, it's sometimes that way as well, where like you're just like you're only there for 3 days. You want to do as good as you can, and for sometimes the cruise or not, it's not like that.
I think I think one of the perfect examples of that was when we went on that boat Blue Sky to Mag Bay, and I think the first day or the second day we caught 23 stripes, and you and I thought it was like the end of the world. It was horrible.
Yeah.
And we never once sat back and said we caught 23 striped marlin.
Yeah.
I mean, that's world class anywhere. But we just heard the numbers that our friends were catching.
Yeah.
And we wanted to do what they did. But what I have to sit back and do is realize, okay, we didn't have the 3 world-class mates. We didn't have the captain or the guy, reading the sonar, and we didn't have 5 fabulous anglers. like the Big O or the Unamas or Johnny Legrone's boat or any of those guys. They, the Viking boat, when those guys get together, they're going to catch 100 fish every time. The fish tank's going to catch 100. If they see that many, they're going to, and we should have, I know I should have, looking back on that trip, I was like, God damn, that was one of our first trips there. And we caught 23 fish. That was a hell of a day, but we just we want to do better. We want to do the work of 7 people.
No, I just want to do as best as we can. And it's sometimes it's a delicate thing to get on a boat and be like, oh yeah, let's just do this all differently than how you've been doing it. Like I don't do that. When I first got on the Sea Hag, I was like, let me see how you guys do it, and I'll just drive the boat. And then, I just think it's a delicate thing to get on a boat. Just be like, well, just throw all your shit out. We're just gonna do it. That's just not a good way to go about things.
I think one of the best trips that we had, something like that, was the first trip we took on the Aussie rules, where that captain was like, "Teach me, please teach me."
Or in El Salvador with the King and I. Well, that was an amazing trip. But you get on the boat and you're just kind of like, they're just like, you get on there with the right attitude and it kind of goes from there.
Yeah, yeah. And I get frustrated, but I try to, especially, when I'm going somewhere way out of the way, I just have to tone it down and say, this is going to be fun.
Yeah.
Just have fun, and whatever happens. A buddy of ours, a mutual buddy of ours, fished a tournament in Central America and had 3 blue marlin. He would have won the tournament. Had 3 blue marlin all have tackle failure from old fishing line. And he was like, I thought you guys said you were changing the line for this tournament. And they're like, we did. And, well, they changed the first 75 yards. The last 75 yards of the line. When they got into the third splice in the line parted.
Well, I think you just got to be super cognizant of where you're going and what the resources are allocated,
Well, that's another thing. We're talking about being on teams in Costa Rica with unlimited budgets. And we're talking about some of these countries where we go, where they reel one reel onto another reel to get the fresh line and
turn it backwards.
I've seen it. So it's all fun, and if you go into it with a mentality that it's going to be fun, and I try to bring something back out of every trip. I mean, there's some countries that you just can't. But there's some places that I come back and I tell you, and you just shake your head and say, yeah, whatever, But it's cool to see some things that work in other countries that you think you could bring back home.
Yeah.
It's not much, but sometimes. Sometimes. Well, I could tell you one that the long and the short rigger on the same halyard on the Unimas. Remember that? So you put both rigger clips on the same line.
Yeah. The short,
what would they call it? They had a name for that.
The slider.
The slider, yeah. Man, that thing was amazing. And you weren't too keen on that one. But some of these things that we bring back, but again, that was a world-class team that was bringing it back. It wasn't some dude on a Tanga.
Yeah.
But that was that was cool. I remember Joe, my brother Joe, Uncle Joe, was fishing in Zihuatanejo or somewhere, and the guy said, "You want to catch a wahoo?" And he was on my brother Joe, Nick, wanted to fish on the cheapest boat he could possibly get on, which is totally different than what we think, And the guy said, "You want to catch a wahoo?" And Joe said, "Yeah." He goes, "Well, go up front and get the downrigger." And he goes, "I don't see a downrigger down here. All I see is this old lower unit." And he goes, "That's our downrigger." He had a swivel on the lower unit, and that was his release clip with a rubber band, and he just threw the lower unit over the side of the
wow. Whatever
attached,
works.
attached to a chain and a rope.
Yeah.
And that was his downrigger. Whatever
great.
works. Whatever works.
works. Well, cool. Thank you, Bill.
All right, guys.
We'll leave it at whatever works. And thanks,
There you
Uncle B. That was fun. Check out squidnation.com for all your trolling and sport fishing needs. Hookoptics.com for all your optics needs. We appreciate everybody listening. Nick, thank you for
Thank you.
indulging the Pino family here. And thank you, everybody, for listening to Uncle Bill. So thanks.
This episode of Backlash Radio was brought to you by Hook Optics and SquidNation.com.